Hard-hitting segment presented by Choju Wellness's Restore, where you should go buy some now. Code FLOW. Get that. Run, don't walk. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the FloGrappling Show, a.k.a. the worst show on the internet. As always, I'm Trey Robinson. We got Joey Gilps right there, Big Uncle Reed, and then Slack Barrett on the ones and two. And then, very special guest in studio, Chris Wojcik. Everybody get up for Chris.
What's up, man? Thanks for coming.
Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Excited you're here and everything.
I'm very excited.
For sure. So, all right. I got to pay the bills real quick, though. First thing, we got an official sponsor on this show. It's about time. Somebody said, listen, you can pay for this podcast, that podcast, Joe Rogan Experience. Who cares, dude? This company knew what was up. They knew they needed to come to the worst show on the internet to accurately represent their brand. Reed, I got a question for you. What's the worst thing about jiu-jitsu? We know all the great things. What's the worst thing about jiu-jitsu, though?
The worst thing about jiu-jitsu? Maybe it's just like the toll it takes on your body.
Right, it's very tiring.
Years, training for 10 years.
Sure, you can relate to that, Chris, right?
Dehydration. Part about jiu-jitsu.
Exactly, dude. And that's why we sought out. We searched high and far. We searched the 7 C's, everything to find a brand that helps you stay on the mats longer. That's why we got Choju Wellness right here. Choju's an official sponsor. And this show is sponsored by Choju, the leader in combat sports nutrition. Choju's Restore is the first electrolyte supplement engineered for grapplers by grapplers. I want to talk about that real quick because this company was actually created by Patrick Peterson, who is a Paragon black belt. He recently got his black belt. We train with
really?
Yeah,
this last week.
This last week. So we train with Patrick a lot. You wrote some of the ad copy for their site and everything, right?
I did.
Yeah. So he's not just a grappler who loves the sport, wants people to train more, but he's hiring grapplers. He's deep in the community. He's going to be at WNO, and Choju will be there. So we're super stoked that they brought this to FloGrappling and wanted to sponsor us. But if you want to stay on the mats longer, if you want to keep training and stop taking rounds off, stop ducking the hard rounds, then you need to visit chojuwellness.com or scan the QR code on the screen. We're going to put it on the screen right now, and then use code FLOW, that's FLO, to get 30% off your first order and a free shaker. All right, that's CHOJU wellness.com. Go run, buy that, gobble it up, start training more. Have you tried this yet?
I have. I actually had the shaker bottle is great too.
Yeah.
It's like a metal kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Durable, you can throw it around a little bit.
No microplastics in this bad boy. So I know a lot of the grapplers out there are big on microplastics now. That's I feel like one of the big things. People are ditching the rash guard even, going to the cotton t-shirts and all that.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
Yeah.
I've been feeling like maybe I want to ditch the rash guards.
Oh, I'm wearing rash guard.
All right.
I know, it's a bad idea.
It's kind of more of like a 10th Planet thing, I feel like, where they're like, there's so many
big
chemicals
time.
in the rash guard, you're just not supposed to wear the rash
But
guard.
30% off here at Choju. Pat's really
that's
hooking
huge.
it up. 30% off. What a huge discount. Definitely if you are in the need for just a little pick-me-up after training. And then we're all grapplers here. We've all been training here for a long time. And I think that is really the secret to jiu-jitsu. Once you kind of get past a certain level or get past a certain way, that you want to be training for life, right? That's the goal here, hopefully. So you need something like Choju in your life, in your training diet, in your training kind of schedule here. So definitely check this stuff out. I just gotta
Snort a little bit real quick.
It smells good. It smells
Yeah.
good.
Put down a line.
I just got one last week from Pat. I haven't tried it yet, but
No, it's good stuff, dude. To be honest, so speaking for myself, I was in the gym. We have a lot of tough guys we train with and everything, and I was ducking rounds. I'm not afraid to admit that. I was tired all the time, and then I started chugging this all the time, every day, keep it by my desk, and now I'm smashing Reed. I'm smashing pretty much everyone else that comes through the Paragon 6 p.m. class. Unless you're actually at the Paragon 6 p.m. class, then I was just joking. But if you're not, then just take my word for it. I'm smashing everybody now that I'm on Choju Wellness. And so super glad they're a part of the show. We love supporting grapplers. We love the sport of jiu-jitsu. So it's awesome that a grappler went out. He saw a hole in the market and was like, let me fill this. Let me get people on the mat for longer. But there you go. We paid the bills a little bit. We're glad Choju's a part of this. And guys, go to chojuwellness.com. Get yours now. Code FLOW for 30% off. And let's run it up for Choju. They're doing good things. So let's do good things
really
for them.
clap it up for
There we go.
Choju.
All right.
More
but now-
grapplers, by grapplers. It's what we
Exactly.
need. Let's do it.
But now we got Chris Wojcik.
All right.
All right. Yeah. We're super excited for you to come on the show. Obviously, you're going to be competing on Who's Number 127 coming up, but we'll get to that eventually. But we just want to talk with you about kind of your life, everything that's been going on. Obviously you have a Grappler's Diary. I think
we've read a couple of segments on the show from the book and stuff like that. So
we have, but what's been going on with you, Chris?
First of all, that was a super nice kind of surprise when I walked in, was to see my book on the table. So
hell yeah,
100%, bro.
Appreciate that. But yeah, so I would say, honestly, since I got the ADCC call, my life has just completely kind of changed in terms of opportunities and kind of, becoming actually kind of doing jiu-jitsu professionally as opposed to trying to do jiu-jitsu professionally. So I got the call for ADCC in early June, then did ADCC, and kind of the whole lead up I was like, I've always just wanted to do ADCC, so that was kind of the highest goal that I could imagine. And then I did pretty well at ADCC, so that kind of led to some opportunities to do PGF and some other competitions. And then all the while I was working on my book, which came out in January, and so been just competing and writing and traveling the last really the last 5 years, but pretty busy the last 6 months or so. Just a lot of kind of crazy. When was ADCC?
September or August, yeah.
August. So yeah, about 7-8 months of just.
What was your goal with the book? How come you wanted to put that out? You don't see a lot of grapplers putting out books.
That's true. Maybe more grapplers will start putting out books.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there you go.
We definitely noticed not a lot of pictures.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's the one thing holding back so many grapplers from.
Yeah, we need.
What's that line? I'm one of the few guys who's actually written more books than he's read. That would be a couple of grapplers. They start
Yeah,
out.
I've always written stuff. I started because that was kind of my main job before I was doing mostly jiu-jitsu, and even now I have a couple clients that I still do. I did some ad copy for Choju, and I ghostwrite for some people, and that was kind of how I was paying for jiu-jitsu, in the early days especially. And I had kind of my own blog as a portfolio of stuff. It's called the Grappler's Diary, so it's a newsletter on Substack, and then it's an Instagram page, and I do little posts every day about how to get better at jiu-jitsu, or sometimes it's funny stuff, what your favorite submission says about you, and it's kind of jokes. And so I've been doing that for
The lists. A lot of lists.
The
Yes.
lists.
Always love
yes.
the lists.
Yeah, so I do a lot of lists and stuff like that. And then I was like, well, I should just the idea came to me before I even started the Instagram, that it would be cool to do a kind of daily Stoic type format for jiu-jitsu. So all the things that you might want to know about jiu-jitsu. And I wanted to make it easy to read because I know a lot of grapplers don't like to read. So it's really short. It's 151. I call them notes. They're just no note is more than 300 words. They're all really short, really easy to digest. You could read one every morning on the toilet or whatever you want to do. And that's kind of.
Yeah, I remember we were reading through it a little bit on the podcast, and one that stuck out to me was you were talking about why you love jiu-jitsu, kind of what you boiled it down to. I think just training hard was the thing that you love about training jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the ones that was in there.
Yeah, that was definitely one. I remember I that was kind of inspired by Keenan was one of my favorite grapplers when I first was coming up, and there was one thing, one interview that he was talking about, he loves jiu-jitsu because he loves just the super hard training and how it forces you to be super present. It forces you to challenge yourself and kind of to challenge yourself and to be nice to yourself at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, I thought, kind of resonated, and I think that definitely that hard training is something that I really kind of enjoy about
it. Yeah, that feeling, that post-training clarity is just the best feeling when you're just full body exhaustion, but you kind of have the camaraderie of everybody there with you too. I feel that just sitting around on the mats after training is just such an underrated part of jiu-jitsu.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
What do the Brazilians call it? Resenha or something, where you just sit around and kind of chop it up afterwards. Definitely a great feeling. Do you have a favorite note in this book? Anything that stands out? Or just a collective?
I don't think I have a favorite. No, I kind of because it was not written in order, and so it's it's a little chaotic, but sometimes my brain's a little chaotic and not in order, and so the only thing I think I even wrote one note about each belt, and then in post I was I should probably put these all together. It was just written kind of in like spur of the moment, how I felt in that moment. And so I don't really have a single favorite or a single like least favorite.
For sure. Who overall do you think the book is for? Like, if you're a grappler out there, is it everybody? You know, should everybody have a copy of the Grappler's Diary, or did you have a target in mind whenever you kind of wrote it?
So when I first started jiu-jitsu, I used to Google everything. Like, I was like,
Definitely.
How do I recover from training? What's a sign I should take a day off? How do I get better faster? I'm a blue belt now. What is that? What do I focus on as a blue belt? And so I was always just Googling everything, and I was like, well, what if I could just put the lessons that I'm learning that no one, because a lot of the, no offense to the other people who have written about jiu-jitsu, but a lot of the content that's been written about jiu-jitsu online it's hard to read. It's like on sites that are full of ads. It's like, not easy to digest. It doesn't even really make sense. Some of it is out of date. And so I just wanted to make kind of a resource for somebody who is like, maybe just someone who's thoughtful about their jiu-jitsu and who wants to make the most out of their experience. So I think it's 151 notes on the jiu-jitsu experience. So it's like anyone who's just thoughtful about their experience is kind of the target audience.
Kind of intentional about getting better at jiu-jitsu, diving deep into the grappling world and everything. You had something you wanted to point out?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, do you ever look back at one of these notes and just think, like, man, I was on some bullshit that day? I do not agree with what I wrote there. And if I were to write this again, I would rewrite it.
Yes, but I think that if you don't have that, you're not growing. You should be looking at, I even look at just articles that I've written. Even my articles I've written for you guys, I revisit them and I'm like, oh my God, that was bad. So
pick it up a little bit.
I don't know. The ones you write for us are great.
Besides those, awesome. All of the other ones though. But I try to always just be a little bit kind of self-critical. Maybe not. I try to avoid doing it to a fault, but I try to be kind of critical of the way I used to think, so that the way that I start thinking hopefully continues to improve.
I feel like too, that's a natural process for anyone who either is creative or is actually creating something and putting it out there, or even jiu-jitsu guys, So for a personal example, I remember when I first started making videos, you kind of think oh dude, I nailed it in this one. And sometimes a video is this is a little lackluster, whatever. But I was always kind of with the goal of I need to just be publishing and making stuff so that I can look back and be dude, I was terrible at that time. It's an important part of that process that maybe people overlook, where it's you have to be creating stuff if that's what you want to do and putting it out there so you can look back and be wow, I'm so much better. I'm not super proud of this anymore, but I knew it was part of the process. Jiu-jitsu as well, I have the video from my first white belt competition, and it's every now and then I'll go back and watch that, and I'm like, dude, this is funny to watch. Because at the time I was I killed it, bro. I was the man, and then I'm wow, I was so bad, and it's kind of feels like that's a natural part of jiu-jitsu as well, looking back and being able to look back on your old matches and think oh wow, I really was really bad, but thank goodness I kind of was bad at that time so I could be where I'm at now, and now see it kind of through a different lens and everything. So definitely a natural part of that process.
I think because I've been doing the lists on Instagram for probably about 2 years, pretty much 2 years almost to the day. And before I did 150 or 175 before I put I've done probably 500 posts. I did probably 420 before I put the book out.
Wow.
So there were, luckily for people who purchased the book. Yeah, I did 420. But anybody who purchases the book, while it is maybe not I wouldn't want to call it the Bible of jiu-jitsu, although some people on the internet have.
We'll call it that.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
The Grappler's Bible.
Grappler's Bible. There we go. But it's kind of it's a pretty polished version, because it's I was editing it after doing 500 plus posts on Instagram writing about jiu-jitsu. So you're getting kind of some polished thoughts about the experience. A lot of reps, which I think, and same with videos or just training, competition, whatever, anything that you do, the more reps that you have, the better you get, and the worse you think your old reps were.
For sure. So, I want to dive into some of your jiu-jitsu as well while you're here. You kind of brought up ADCC, how that was kind of a pivotal moment in your career, kind of everything kind of shifted and all that. With specifically the moment that stands out to me when I think of Chris Wojcik on some of the biggest stages, being oh wow, Chris has fully arrived, he's here now, is your match with Josh Hinger. You had him first round, right, at ADCC. Going into that, obviously
ADCC bronze medalist, right?
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of go into that and you made it, you're going to be at ADCC, and then you find out you have Josh Hinger, a veteran of the game. What were you kind of thinking? What was your mindset whenever you knew that was going to be your first round against Josh?
So I was honestly really I was excited to go against Hinger because I felt like stylistically that was going to be the match that I'd have a really good chance of getting a leg lock in, because Josh has been submitted with the inside spin heel hook before. And so I didn't think that it was going to be easy to sub him, but I definitely thought that I had a chance to sub him, whereas like other guys in the bracket were going to be more like kind of grinder matches. So like
if you draw like a Bodoni, like that's
that was going to be a tough one to.
This is the match you actually kind of were hoping for.
It was one of my like 3 ones that I wanted. Was Hinger was one of them, and so when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, sick!" And then I would have had either Isaac or Negromonte second. And kind of a funny story about the second round match is I because Isaac was kind of like really top seed and kind of favorited to medal maybe even, but when he lost, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about Negromonte. And my coach, Jeff Serafin from Chicago, he had watched every single guy in the bracket, and he's like, oh, I watched 5 Negromonte matches last week. So he knew all this stuff going into that match. So we were like, I felt super prepared for pretty much whoever I was going to get. Although
that was sick.
it was a miracle that he fell over there. I was,
and that is note 73. Sometimes wish for a miracle.
You don't think any of the training foot sweeps for a bunch of years had anything to do with it?
I mean that too, but I was he's Josh is known as like a wrestler, and I'm known as a guard player. So like the fact that he that I got a takedown in that match, I thought was pretty wild.
It was an awesome takedown, man. It was definitely, and there is a moment where you can see a second where you're like, oh wow, get on top now.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be on top at all in this match.
Does that change up the game plan in live time? Like now, because I'm sure you didn't
expect to pass.
Yeah. No, so what you're gonna see in a moment is he pulled me into single leg X, and right when he did, I fell back for a leg lock because I felt like my best chance to submit him was with a leg lock. But he was also really hard to entangle. Josh is really strong, like really hard to move. Like
that tracks,
heavy, kind of guy. But yeah, right here when he pulled me into single leg X, the second his foot came over, I just like dove back for a leg lock because I wasn't really trying to. I felt like I didn't want to get swept. I wanted to like go down, like going for right here.
On your own, kind of
while initiating.
Yeah. And then I tried also too, so I have like a lot of experience in ADCC rules. Like I've done the trials like 7 times, I think, between America and Europe. So like I tried to just keep my work rate super high as well. I
feel like that was when we really came on my radar. I feel like it was ADCC trials 2022 when you fought Cody Steele first round. I feel like that was like when I was like, oh shit, this Chris Wojcik guy is really good. He just beat Cody first round.
So it's funny, the East Coast trials that year, I lost second round. I just made a mistake and I got guillotined. And then I went into and it was kind of a similar thing. Like looking at when the bracket came out, I was like, oh shit, I have Cody second. That's like, because I had a match before him, but Cody had a bye. I didn't have a bye.
Cody's first,
and so it was Cody's first match. And same thing. Jeff was like, "Oh, this is the perfect match for you." I was like, "Is it the perfect? Is the suplex guy really the perfect match for me?"
Yeah. The guy's last name is Steele. The guy who's winning fight of the night in the UFC now.
Yeah.
I feel like too with Cody at specifically trials. To me, like Cody's performances at trials, that like he kind of embodies like the trials spirit 100%. Of like trials is like a grind, it's like we've talked about it a lot on this show, and like it's like you're kind of just going through this like insane gauntlet of like not just some of the best grapplers in the world, but also it's just like potentially 8 matches. It's like everyone's going to like there people at this point, like this most recent one, it really was like everyone's trying to go off the mat for some reason and like throw you into tables, and like Cody's the dude who kind of lives off the mat, so definitely I could see that like going in, it's like, oh shit, Cody, I don't know, Suplex City, the dude who loves to throw people off the mat. But
that was definitely, I was not excited about that draw, but I kind of like similar to the Hinger match, but like I don't think I was as good at the time, and so I didn't really have a submission game, and so I was more like kind of trying to like out wrestle him and work my way, kind of like wrestle up from the guard and kind of just spam leg locks to stay super active. But I think I won the decision because of I had a near takedown in the overtime.
I was gonna say I remember it being a pretty intense match, and it went to overtime, and it was like.
But in that match, I kind of had the luxury of like Cody had no idea who I was, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I hadn't done anything at the time. I half thought I was going to lose. The Hinger match, he knew I was going to try to leg lock him, you know, because I was at least kind of known as a leg locker in the, you know, amongst like a lot of the guys. Like I remember I heard Hinger tell somebody, like just passing through, I don't think he even knew I was there, but I heard him say he shaved his legs, you know, before the match. So like he knew I was going to try to. No,
I heard those legs were shaved. You're like, oh no.
I don't know if that's.
Did you get even more excited? Gotta get onto those shaved legs.
Like Josh is a legend, but like you know, he's got to know that like leg lock defense is better than shaving your leg.
Yeah, that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know, you're saying, yeah.
But also to like even you look at where I'm holding his leg right now, I'm pinching around his shorts. You know, it's not around his leg.
So you're feeling pretty good right here in this position?
Yeah, you want to talk us through
this is where I wanted to
actually, could we go back a little bit to where even before this, you got into a position that I think is like not really, there's the sequence. The reverse false reap, I think it's called. Can you talk about that?
So I started doing this just because I was getting passed when I first moved to B team. And I like Jeff, my coach in Chicago, he would always play this calf slicer game. And so I would try to do the calf slicer, and here I'm like kind of just sending out for the calf slicer, and this is risky.
And this was ultimately like the same kind of calf slicer that Hulk hit on Joseph Chen.
Yeah, very similar, very similar.
That kind of calf slicer. Okay.
Yeah, and so I pulled the outside ashi, but I had such a hard time entangling Josh that I was like, I'm going to put him in 50-50 because 50-50 is a little easier to hold. But like you'll notice how much trouble I was having unweighting his leg. Like he's super strong.
Is this a Woj Lock attempt?
This is a Woj Lock attempt, and it was pretty tight. You know, if he's hand fighting, that's a good indication that it's, you know, it was nearly there, but he defended well. And then now I think he kind of probably got frustrated. That's why he was dropping the knee.
Didn't want more Woj Locks.
Nobody does.
But he does.
And then from here, he's trying to separate the legs. Ethan actually gives me a similar reaction in the gym where he tries to bring the knee down. So I have a good kind of response to that. And then once he stood up, he's about to stand up. That's when I entered the... I tried to go Woj Lock again, but I was like, in my head, I'm like, would be amazing for DVD.
I was going to say, like, hit the signature move on,
First
you know.
round.
And this was before, like, this was when people were first starting to call it the Woj Lock. Like, luckily now, I've kind of done enough Woj Locks where it's just the Woj Lock. I don't have to do them anymore, you know, which is good because they're super hard for me to get in competition now because every time I go for it, people are expecting it. But like this is kind of in my instructional, I call this the Woj lemma, where like he defends the Woj Lock to give you the inside heel hook. So that's kind of how that match.
Woj lemma, I love it.
You want to pull it back up, Nikki, and kind of go back to that finish, or you can just kind of talk us through specifically the finish and everything.
He's kind of he doesn't want to give me the Woj Lock again, so he's gonna bring his foot up here in a moment.
It's almost like a straight ankle outside heel hook dilemma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so here he's turning his foot under me because he doesn't want to give the reverse, the Woj Lock. I got to stop calling it reverse Aoki. Yeah, so here he's turning his foot in now, and see his foot is bent in here, and now this is when I can inside spin. And once I'm under, this is a really high percentage finish.
Super sick. What's going through your mind right here?
I was like kind of just in shock. Like my mind was blank, really fired up.
Yeah.
Normally I'm not like an emotional competitor at all, you know. I'm like very kind of stoic, but I was super fired up about that one.
I would be too, man.
Yeah, understandable. You picked a good one.
Not many people get to experience a submission victory on the biggest stage in grappling.
In T-Mobile.
Yeah, that was. I looked up at the whole arena and I was like, wow, there's so many people here. Like it was like a lot. It was pretty full, especially even just Saturday morning. It was a lot of people.
Morning.
I know it's hard to like process everything going on in a moment like that, especially like while you're still in it, you know, because it's like, all right, you potentially have 3 more matches to go and everything. But was there any part of you that kind of recognized like, oh man, dude, like things might be different now, or like, you know, I'm definitely going to get some notoriety or something? Was that on your mind at all, or were you just like,
seminar fees just went up, baby?
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like just kind of just like happy and like kind of just celebrating with my coach, and I was like, can we get, because my girlfriend, she couldn't get backstage until later on in the day when we had her her friend who works for ADCC got there to get the backstage pass. So I was like, can we get my girlfriend down here so we can get everybody back here? That was kind of
I gotta show her what I just. That's like me when I get home from the gym. Like, hey, babe, let me just do this one sub on you. I gotta show you.
You probably didn't even need to wait for the backstage pass, to be honest.
Yeah.
You just jumped down there.
Yeah.
But it looks like you and Josh even had like a little moment right there at the end. What was Josh saying to you?
Oh, he was just telling me to like. I was like, thank you for the match. It was an honor to compete against you, because like I remember Blue Belt Worlds. I watched Josh beat Dante. This is like 2017, so it was like a very kind of full circle moment to be like, oh, now I'm competing against this guy, and obviously he's older, but he's still like a legend in the sport. So I was like just really kind of like, oh, thank you for the match, and he was like, look at all the people, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of people. It was a nice.
That's kind of cool. He let you soak it in a little bit. Kind of gave you a little bit of a veteran like.
That is a good veteran move.
Type of thing.
Yeah, no, he was really respectful and really nice guy afterwards. So
yeah, Josh is a good guy for sure.
Yeah, so obviously
he's a writer as well. I remember his articles back in the day were some of the better jiu-jitsu articles that I read.
Nice. Whenever you were, a young Chris Wojcik, like Googling stuff, who's the people you came across a lot? Because like I know for me, when I would look stuff up, I was kind of came up in the time of like Keenan Cornelius was always the guy that like his stuff popped up first. Like you Google how to tie your belt, and like for me it was like Keenan's video was like the first one I watched and stuff, but even just beyond that and everything. Was there a dude like that for you?
So what reminds me of like when I first started jiu-jitsu, there was a video of like how to tie your gi pants by Henner Gracie. And I was like, I can tie pants. That's fine. I'm not watching this.
I know the exact video you're talking about.
And I didn't know how to tie my gi pants for 3 years. Because I didn't watch that video.
It's right. It's like you pull it directly out.
Yeah, this is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu video. I saw this. And I was like, I don't need to watch this. It's fine. And
he doesn't know how to tie their pants.
But definitely like a lot of Keenan stuff is what I would watch. Like Lapel Encyclopedia. Hinger's articles were good. I'm trying to think about who else was like doing a lot of content back then. There wasn't a ton.
Yeah.
This is really like if you're a white belt in jiu-jitsu watching this, you need to watch.
It is super helpful.
Because I didn't watch this and I didn't know how to tie my pants for a long time.
It's possible that I still don't know how to tie my pants because I've never seen this video.
Oh, come on, guys! You gotta get hip.
I got a tip I went up to Jimmy Pedro's one time for judo. They're like, oh, when you tie it, you need to knot it through one of the flaps that you put the thing through. That way, the pants never come untied. Extra friction.
Okay, I didn't know that. I know one of the key points is pulling it out instead of pulling it straight forward. But we talk about my brother on here sometimes. My brother's a white belt, so he's kind of like our example dude who's currently going through the white belt process. Like he'll hit me up and be like,
he may or may
just
not
like,
exist.
Just like every white belt question a guy has, he's kind of going through that. And so shout out my brother, go watch that video, bro. I'm tired of
the Grappler's Guide.
Yeah. Oh, I do need to give him a Grappler's Diary. Yeah, I'll hook him up with a copy for sure.
Diary.
But yeah, go watch that, dude. I'm tired of your pants falling down all the time, bro. You look like a goofball. You got to represent our name better. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so another thing we wanted to talk about, we already talked about it some, but is the Woj Lock specifically, How did you come about, like, uncovering this move, and, like, what was the process for it going from the reverse Aoki to, like, the Woj Lock?
Yeah, so I started using the reverse Aoki back. So it was the reverse Aoki for a long time. Like I started using it. I think I was a purple belt when I started using it in the gi because I was doing a lot of IBJJF and you can't do anything, in IBJJF. You can't heel hook. You can't Aoki lock a certain way, or sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And so the video he's pulling up now is when the first Woj Lock that I ever used. You can see this is many haircuts ago. But
you look different. You do.
Whoa, dude.
Oh, wait, that one's you. Okay, never mind. I thought you were.
Dude, that's kind of awesome. Have you ever thought about bringing that hairstyle back?
Yeah, my girlfriend won't allow it.
Has it been run up the chain and just like got Vita?
If I bring that haircut back, things are not going well. But I got some sick pictures from this tournament. So I think Lucas goes for a belly down foot lock here. I got really bendy ankles, so I was kind of chilling. I think he probably gets an advantage for this.
Yeah, and that's Lucas Kennard for anyone who,
by the way,
this doesn't realize it.
This is a win that aged really well. Lucas is a beast. But so I was using it, and this is legal in the gi. Here's another tight one. I don't remember this.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe skip.
I don't remember most of this match, but let's see what happened.
Double pull, double penalty.
Is this like one of those
they're gonna-
moments looking back for you where you're like, oh man, yeah, I could
So
have
it's
done a
funny.
lot of things different? Or
It's funny because like at this time, I was pretty much switched to nogi, but like I did this was in between the East Coast trials I did bad and the West Coast trials where I took 4th and beat Cody. And I was like trying to just get some matches, and I was like, well, I guess I can go do worlds even though I'm not really trained in the gi. So we trained in the gi for like 2 years, and so yeah, here I go right into Lucas's game, which is this like Berimbolo, and he knocks me down. And then I think this is gonna be the finish. He pummels through to go like crab or something, and then I pass the leg across, and then now I catch the 50-50 and go Achilles grip, and then I just send it.
Brutal.
And the thing about the reverse Aoki as it was at the time, it was like, because the gi, the friction makes it so much tighter, and it's like it's legal like white belt through black belt as far as I understand. Like I've been sent videos of like blue belts hitting it at IBJJF tournaments, and so
It genuinely seems to be a move that, like, maybe it shouldn't be legal for
for
purple belts
sure,
and that,
for
but like
sure.
the refs don't call it. So like,
Yeah.
it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and the refs are super kind of inconsistent about that. You know, they're like kind of sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's not. For some athletes, it's legal. For some athletes, it's not. But at brown belt, like this is brown belt, and so I think they saw it as an Estima lock or something, and that's kind of how they scored it. But so this was the first one I ever hit in competition, and I literally just started doing it because I couldn't do anything in 50-50, and then I couldn't get the heel hook sometimes. So this was kind of how I would find it, gi and no gi. And then I used it, you know, and I went down to B team for the first time. And when you first go into that room at B team, it's like, it's a tough room to adjust to. So like I was getting passed a lot. I was getting submitted a lot. I was a good leg locker. I couldn't even really get a ton of leg locks. And then kind of the Woj lock or the reverse Aoki at the time was my like saving grace. That was like the one thing I could kind of get on almost everybody. And then Kieran was training with us, and Kieran is actually the one who named it the Woj lock, because Kieran was the first guy. Like I would hit it on everybody, but Kieran was the first guy who was like, I want to do it too. And so I kind of showed him how I do it, and then he's kind of got his own way of doing it now, but we both use it. And he, you know, thankfully he named it the Woj lock and not the Kieran lock. That was good for my career. But
Would have been
what a
bad.
homie.
Would have been bad for your career.
Yeah, shout out Kieran for
so shout out to Kieran Kachuk for that. But so it became the Woj lock, and then, you know, now it's, like I said, now it's really hard to hit in competition because everybody's kind of expecting me to
They're just
go
giving
for
you
it.
the heel hook now.
Yeah, which is, you know, that's fine. I'll take that. But definitely, you know, but also too, like the Aoki lock, Shinya Aoki, I think he only ever hit one in competition. So all you need is one.
What is it about that B team room? You kind of mentioned when you first there, it's like hard to adjust to and everything. What is it about it? Obviously, it's like some of the best grapplers in the world, but you know, there's probably more to it than that. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, there is kind of the, like, when you first come in, it's definitely like a little bit of like, oh, like there's like the most, like some of the most successful guys in the sport, like, you know, Nicky Rod and Nicky Ryan and Ethan and all those guys who've been around, Craig when he was there much, you know, all those guys who've been like just to the top of the sport. And then also too, you have all the guys who maybe you haven't heard of yet, or like, you know, like guys like Mattia, who's like on the up and up, or like, you know, then we always have visitors. So it's like, you know, Kenta's there right now, Joseph's there right now, Owen Jones is there right now. And then even like tons of other guys who are just, so it's just the volume of like high level grapplers. And then also too, like when I first went in, I had never done 10-minute rounds. So like normally we'll do, like most days we're doing 10-minute open rounds, and that's like an adjustment for your body to get used to that kind of cardio. Even if you're like a competitor, like getting used to doing 10-minute rounds pretty much
And
every
the
day.
pacing and
Yeah.
The pacing and the quality.
And then having to do another 10-minute round, and then another
Yeah,
10
yeah.
minutes.
And
Like,
then
like,
Nicky
yeah, 'cause
Rod's
I was just
looking at
thinking
you
that. I was
across
like,
the
yeah,
room, and
yeah,
now
yeah.
your third 10-minute round is.
Yeah, so it definitely was like a lot on the body to get used to. And it's funny, like when I leave, like I remember, I think it was a little over a year ago, I had to leave for a month because I was like traveling, and then I went home for the holidays, and then I went and I was in California doing a seminar, so I was like gone for 4 weeks. And when I came back, I just had no cardio. I had been training the whole time I was gone, you know, but I hadn't been doing 10-minute rounds with like that caliber of guy, or like just long rounds. Like right now for WNO, because of, you know, we're doing a lot of 15s, you know, so it's like those are long rounds and they're hard rounds. So it's just like a different kind of room, but it's like it's not really like, it's like a professional room. Like I'm sure over at, New Wave or Fight Factory or Autos, they're all doing kind of similar style of training, where it's just like hard rounds, long rounds, or a lot of specific rounds, stuff like it's just hard training.
How do you notice the training change when Dima is in town? Because I know that he's in town right now.
Yeah, it's just way more structured. So I think kind of the big kind of criticism of B Team over the years has been like, oh, there's no coach, there's no structure. And when Dima's there, it's like that kind of is resolved. Like there's a curriculum, there's a structure to the rounds. It's kind of like easy day, easy day. Like right now we've been doing comp simulations 2 to 3 days a week. So it's like, we do those usually Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So it's like, okay, I know that on Wednesday, I probably don't want to kill myself in the room or go lift super hard because I have to do 15-minute rounds, or, I'm doing a 10-minute or 9-minute match. So it's like, 10-minute hard match that day. So I know I have to kind of structure my training accordingly.
Nice. Our producer said that we should have Dima structure our show. We get criticized that we have an unstructured show.
Yeah, I think that it's good to have varying heart rates throughout your show.
Yeah, true.
Guys, this is a high heart rate segment.
Yeah.
Quick question. I'm only queuing it because Nikki, can you hear me right now? My microphone's being funny. What's your experience with the balance between having coaches that guide you and the responsibility to kind of program your own training? Because we know there's a lot of people that we talk to that even from large teams, sometimes it's like they explain to us, actually, I'm kind of running my own sessions, or every Wednesday I got to do my own thing at my school type of thing, and I'm bringing different people in to get the looks I need, because sometimes coaches go and they open another academy, or their schedules are different. Like, what's that balance like for you?
Yeah, so when I was in Chicago, I was training with my coach usually about 4 times a week, three to 4 times a week. And, those sessions would be pretty structured. We didn't really have I didn't have like access to like the top partners in the world like I do now. So that's definitely a factor, but I was pretty much doing my own thing. So say 4 days a week, really 3 days a week, but one day was twice a day with my coach. And then the other days it's like I'd have to drive somewhere to go train with like high level guys at some other gym. One day I would have to teach all day. One day was like I'd have to go drive an hour to go to an open mat somewhere. So it was like very kind of self-guided. Plus I'm trying to learn, the stuff that is now like I had to go and watch instructional, study YouTube, do the stuff that now like I have kind of access to every day. Like I can go to the gym and I can ask, like, Ethan's got some of the best EBI in the world, so I can ask him about EBI stuff. Or Joseph is like, probably the best passer in the world. I can ask him about passing or whatever, or Declan or any of these like super high level guys. I just have them in the room. And then also too, like the rounds, the structure now every single day, 6 days a week at noon is like, Dima has the practice planned, he's taking care of that, which is kind of how I think it should be at like a professional level. So it's like, if you're going to do your own thing, I don't think that that's wrong, but it needs to be like kind of like hyper structured. Because even having, jiu-jitsu is an individual sport, right? So even having Dima run the practice, maybe there's one day where it's like I was in California recently and I got sick, over the weekend. So like when I come back, I'm not going to be doing the same hard rounds that I would normally do on a certain day because I've been sick, So it's like and that's kind of just an example, but like little things are going to change how you prepare. So I think it's also really important if you have a coach to have like a one-on-one dialogue with your coach and be like, hey, so actually a good example of this is my ADCC prep, my back was just like screwed up. Like, can I swear?
Yeah.
Have I been swearing this whole time?
No. Okay. But let some rip. Everybody say a cuss word real quick. Damn.
Shit.
All right, so my back was fucked. Like,
there you go.
The whole
Actually, just opened up right to back pain.
Back pain, there you
right
go.
In the Grappler's
Yeah,
diary.
so I had a back injury during ADCC camp, and I would come in every day and I'd be like, Dima, back feels good today, let's go hard. Or I'd be like, back does not feel good today. And so we would kind of like, instead of doing a
Because
wrestling,
I went hard yesterday, back doesn't feel good.
Yeah. So then instead of being like, okay, my back is like, or being like, okay, I need to go hard again because this is a hard day, I'm going to like have this dialogue with the coach about my injury or my situation. And then I'm still going to be able to reach my goal of performing at ADCC. And I'm still going to be able to train hard, but I'm kind of modifying things based on me, even though we have a coach who's running everything for everybody.
So you brought up the Daily Stoic, and like this is very much structured, like similar to like a Daily Stoic book or anything like that. But in this, Stoicism, is it a big part of like, are you big on Stoicism and all that? Just because like reading some of this, I'm like, wow, this is very Stoic of you, the way you wrote this and everything. Kind of has some Stoic principles in there. I'm just curious if Stoicism's
I've read Meditations, so I've read
one of the best
Stoic,
books of all time.
Trey's
Yeah.
favorite
Stoic
books.
philosophy.
Yep.
So I'm reading Letters to a Stoic right now,
From
but
Seneca.
like, yeah, so definitely a fan of Stoicism. I don't think that I could call myself a Stoic or any
And
other.
a Stoic never would.
I said, there we go. So maybe
You're falling right into it here.
Yeah.
falling into a trap. But yeah, definitely, I think that Stoicism benefits like the mindset that you need to succeed in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like, obviously, if you want to be an elite athlete, like there's a lot of things you have to do mindset wise, and I think Stoicism is a great tool for anybody trying to cope with like the adversities of life and everything, just how hard life is. But I want to read a quick segment here. I'll try my best. I'm not the best reader, but we'll popcorn this, but because this feels very Stoic, and I think it's a cool thing.
How funny is it going to be on the podcast later when Trey has edited in a voiceover of him reading it?
It's like a really cool, gravelly, like.
You got Jocko to read.
Yeah, but it says back pain is a metaphor for life, but I wouldn't change it. The pain is a reminder that I'm still alive, that I still have more to give. It hurts, but it doesn't stop me. If anything, it makes me smarter. If it goes away, that means either there's been advances in medical science or that I'm dead. That's very Stoic.
Clap it up for that one.
Yeah, that's very
a good line. That's a good.
Just kind of like pain doesn't really go away in life. Either you're dead or like something crazy's happened. So I think that is a great line. Great way of looking at it, and it also supports my methodology for injury, which is like if you just ignore it long enough, something will get fixed. Hopefully, I'm just playing, but
Well, I think
I go by the Roadhouse methodology. Pain don't hurt.
yeah,
I think that it's like this sport is kind of hard on your body. So it's like there's very few days where you show up and you just feel great and you leave feeling great.
That's why
I was gonna say,
you need something like
that's why.
Yeah.
Choju
in your life to help you kind of battle that.
Yeah,
Jojo
but
well
it
done.
is it's a very real thing, especially someone who trains a ton. Like you are never 100%. If you think you're going to be like, if you're waiting for the perfect day to go grapple, whether you're a hobbyist or a pro, even speaking for hobbyists, it's like, there's no perfect day to go do it. You just got to go do it. Like you just got to show up, get on the mat, like
Do what you can.
Yeah. It's like, it's a great thing. I feel like the way Dima is structuring it, where it's like, you can talk to him and he can be like, all right, let's go low heart rate today. I always hear him talking about heart rates and stuff. So it's like, let's go low heart rate, get that figured out, and then be back better than ever on that one. But
Well, I think too, like a lot of people are, and I think maybe this is just because jiu-jitsu is like a combat sport and we have this like tough guy culture kind of ingrained. A lot of people are just like scared to like talk to their coach about like a situation. Like, oh, they're like, maybe you like slept for like an hour last night or whatever. You just didn't sleep. You're like, instead of being like, coach, I didn't sleep, I need a day off, or I need a light day, they're gonna try to like force themselves to, because they think that's like what you do if you're a champion or whatever.
Sure.
But I think that there was a line from, it was either a Malcolm Gladwell podcast or a quote where he was talking about runners, and like runners, you never have to tell a runner to run. A runner's always gonna run. You have to tell a runner to not run. And that's kind of like how they peak for a competition, is they take like a break, or they chill or they like rest, and I think having that ability to like know when it's time to go and know when it's time to chill is really important. And that's something that I didn't learn, because I wrestled in high school a little bit, and no one in high school wrestling is like telling you to like take a day off or to like
wrestling's like the extreme version, I feel like, of that bravado. Like it's like, nah, dude, we're just gonna run into a wall today, smash everybody kind of thing.
But I think that like that is sick, like I love that like kind of aspect of wrestling culture. But like also too, like most wrestlers are in high school and they need to learn that lesson of like being stronger, whereas like when now I'm like, I've been grappling for like 15 years, that's a long time. My body is not the same as it was when I was 16 and doing wrestling, every day or whatever. Now it's like I have kind of limitations that are like, I have not like, limitations is maybe the wrong word, but I'm like got a lot of miles, where some days I can go super hard and like feel like I did when I was like 18, and now some days I feel like I'm 45 and I gotta like maybe slow down a little bit. Yeah,
that misconception where I think there is a lot more to be said, where a champion knows when to rest also, when to like kind of take it in, soak or whatever when needed. But we got some hard-hitting questions for you. Okay. All right, so I want to get into the Woj Lock, so we'll do some Carpet-jitsu here in a bit. But first, I'm feigning a little bit, so let me charge up for the hard-hitting stuff with Choju real quick.
Oh man, that looked
All right.
really tasty.
Now
Epic.
I'm ready to go. ChojuWellness.com. But these are the hard.
30% off with
Yeah,
Flow.
this is our hard hitting segment presented by Choju Wellness's Restore, where you should go buy some now. Code FLOW. Get that. Run, don't walk, and get it. This isn't like WNO. WNO, buy a ticket. If you don't come, whatever, just buy the ticket and send us proof you bought it. This Choju, buy it for real. Take it, train more. But our hard hitting segment. First question. Would you be able to submit a direct clone of yourself? A 1-to-1 clone of Chris Wojcik. Would you be able to submit him?
Knows what you know.
Knows everything. I had a guy point out that a clone is just a physical thing. Nah. This is
Not in our world.
This is advanced cloning tactics. This clone has everything that's in your head right now. He has all of it. He knows your weaknesses, knows your strength, but you got to face yourself. Would you be able to submit
Who is
yourself?
that guy who corrected us? Show us the clone that you are basing this off of.
I don't think I could submit a clone of myself.
No?
Pretty hard to submit, and I think that like the submissions that I am good at myself would definitely be
Like your ankles would bend.
like my ankle lock defense is one of my best attributes, and it's also my best submission.
What do you if you win against this clone 10 times, is there any Woj Lock possibility on yourself?
Minimal.
Are you guys going to Woj lock each other from 50-50 and just get into this like
would be
Brazilian
awesome.
standoff?
I actually, Jeff, my coach from Chicago, was in town recently for the main character. He was visiting, and I had a Woj lock, and he had a Woj lock, and we were just ripping them on each other. So, I can
guys
imagine.
being
Sounds awesome.
To a clone then.
Just guys
Right?
being
Pretty
dudes.
close, yeah. So definitely don't think I'd submit myself.
What about, could you pass your guard?
No.
If you could bring back any grappler from history and face them in a match, who would you face?
Keenan in his prime.
That's a cool one.
That's a
In the
sick one.
gi.
In the gi. All right,
Agree.
let's go.
What makes you want to do that?
Because I was like, I used to always watch his stuff. Like I was the like nerdy blue or purple belt using the lapel encyclopedia to like win IBJJFs back then. So that would be sick. Like
I miss Keenan, huh? Like, I feel like we're always talking about how we kind of miss Keenan a little bit, to be honest. But I wish he was still making all that stuff.
Even his nogi was sick though. Like I used to love watching.
He
his
did better in no gi
highlights.
than gi. If
Yeah.
you go like just strictly by results.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Gi or nogi, that's a match I would. Keenan like 2017. That's a match I'd.
That would be a sick one. And then kind of our last hard-hitting question here. All-time favorite grappler, if you had to pick one. This is the guy you kind of watched all the time, you loved. Like, if you have an all-time favorite grappler, who would you pick? Past or present. You can pick Nicky Rod. It's okay.
I probably have to, right? Otherwise, I'm going to hear it. Probably Keenan or Marcelo Garcia, my two favorites.
Yeah. I feel like Marcelo's a common favorite grappler for a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah.
We might have to start putting him as a free space. You know what I mean? It's like outside of Marcelo Garcia.
His like ADCC run in the pyramid is like required watching for I think every up and coming grappler.
He just embodies like what you like about jiu-jitsu. Like he doesn't talk, he doesn't say anything. He just goes out and just buzzsaws through people. Like it's just the best.
But yeah, Keenan's a great pick as well. I would put Keenan up there as one of my favorite grapplers as well. And it's kind of like I already mentioned, it's like depending on the area you come up and everything, like I've been training for like 7 years. So I was kind of right in a sweet spot of like, I just hit the Keenan train running and like was searching stuff. He's popping up. I'm watching his matches. It's like, this dude is awesome. It's like, so Keenan is a great one also.
He's got some gems of him using the lapel guard stuff. That's like there's one match of him at the San Diego Pro where he's like using this like worm guard and he just teleports to the back, which is like no one really does that so much in the gi anymore where they're like using the lapel guard to attack. It's more like used to stop offense, which is kind of I think unfortunate, but like that was a kind of a really cool period when he was using that and nobody knew what to do.
Did you watch the reality show there that they did back in the day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. I watched the Kumite before 2019 Gi Worlds in my Airbnb with my buddy. We watched the whole thing in one day.
Yeah. That was sick content. That was awesome content.
That's kind of some legendary, like if you're newer in the sport and you haven't went back and watched that, go back and watch.
It's got Gary Tonin.
Yeah.
It's got Victor Silverio. It's like got so many people.
Sean Roberts with
Roberts.
the calf slicer that he used
Jackson, I
is
think?
kind of similar to
Yeah,
the
true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
kind of inspired by
Sean
it.
Roberts was blowing up around that time too. Yeah.
So a super sick watch for anybody who's not hip to it. But now you wanna move into a lighter segment called Carpet-jitsu. We could
All right.
get you to get down on the carpet. We can move this table and
You got to give us some pointers on the Woj Lock.
Yeah, we want to know
If
some
you
of
could
these
see a Woj
details.
Lock, yeah.
I've officially hit 0 all-time training
Are
competition.
you training today?
I'm training later.
And
yeah,
you're gonna get one
All
today.
right, let's go. Let's go. But we can move this. Joe, are you down to get down there with him and do some? All right, Nikki's gonna hate us because we didn't
Us
tell him
too.
ahead of
Us
time.
too. So, all right, we're going through the Woj Lock here with Chris Wojcik on the podcast. This is
And
an
do your
elite
best
episode here.
Yeah, do your best to try to talk to the mic as much as you can.
Oh, mic is over here.
We got a mic right here.
So we're in like a 50-50.
We're good. We got
We're in
it.
like a 50-50.
Get a boom mic.
And what I want to do is I want to bring my partner's heel onto my chest like this, and I retract the elbow. And this is already should be some
So there's a good amount of turn on my foot. I feel my foot very like folded to the side here.
So
My
what happens a lot.
heel is going this way, but my toes are going this way.
What happens a lot is people do like kind of this like high straight foot lock. This is not a Woj
I don't feel
lock.
anything here.
This is, I mean, it's like, it's alright. I could maybe rip on it, but like the Woj lock is here.
There we go.
Right?
Some in-action problem solving here.
This hurts a lot.
And there's a few different finishes, and you can buy my instructional to learn all of them.
Yeah.
But one finish is just kind of bring your knee down and arch your back.
It's attacking. Is it attacking like the ankle? Are you attacking?
I'm feeling it for here. I feel maybe a little bit here, but I'm definitely.
Yeah, so it's gonna attack.
This part of my foot on the inside.
But it's not like an ankle lock where you're.
No, it's very much like more twisty and.
Talking to the mic, Joe, if you can.
Tap.
So it's a outside of the ankle and usually the inside of the knee.
Yeah.
Kind of give us another one. Go through it again. Like,
Can I feel it, Joe? You mind?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
How are you getting into it? I know you go through 50-50, right? But like, what are you really thinking about and like focused on to like set up and get to the Woj lock where you know like, all right, this guy's in my.
I'll take it off.
No, it's all right here. Like this.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
But I bring my leg over like this.
When he brought his knee down, I felt it a ton. That was a key.
Yeah, so this is kind of my feet,
Yeah. Good.
like here. Kind of on the side. And you it's like a heel exposed 50-50 ankle lock.
Gotcha. All right, sick.
Like a inverted Aoki lock.
Honestly, like it feels like gentle. Like I know you probably weren't going full force on it, but like it feels like I don't know, like you have like a gentle kind of like hook on my leg, and then it just comes on super quick.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm definitely doing it real slow. Like if I'm gonna send it, I'll probably probably won't. Hopefully, it doesn't feel as gentle.
It almost it makes me think about like the A block in a way where it's like kind of disguised, like it really is like knee pressure and stuff, right? But it's like disguised as a toe hold. So, you know, you kind of get away with it a little bit. Is there any element of that where it's like people think like, oh, my ankle's going to blow out, but then there's like way more on the knee than someone's realizing? Or?
It's definitely more on the ankle, but there is pressure on the knee as well, for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like if they start to turn the foot to like relieve the pressure, they give you the heel hook.
Okay, cool.
I felt like my knee was locked in one place and couldn't move very
Yeah,
much.
and like you were dictating which direction my knee was going to go, and so
and
like
yeah,
that.
like I didn't feel submission pressure on my knee, but I felt like a pin on
Yeah.
my knee. And then all the submission came very much for like a twisting lock at the ankle.
Yeah, so the break is going to be usually ankle first, and then I guess if we keep going, maybe the knee as well, but I haven't gotten that far.
I was going to say, have you gotten that far?
Fingers crossed.
Dang.
Yeah. Are
If
you
the knee goes, we'll try words. We'll try to talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go words. And then, you know,
Talk out
the
anger.
parking lot eventually. I don't know. But so another thing I want to talk to you about, because the word break made me think of this, is PGF. PGF is kind of like, you know, one of the cooler things going on in the grappling community right now. You know, it's like the whole season thing, but it's also similar to trials in the way that it seems like just such a grueling process. You're competing all week, and they might be changing the format some, I'm not sure, but where you're going all week, and then that leads up to like basically a bracket at the end where it goes from team to now you're in a kind of individual bracket, and you were on one of the recent PGFs.
Yeah.
What did you think about PGF? What was that experience like?
Dude, it was so much fun. It felt like summer camp a little bit, because it was like we were all there kind of stuck in this like, you know, stuck in this kind of like Vegas hotel, and the venue was right by the hotel, and you could kind of just like you're going hotel to venue, and like we had this kind of weird bizarre schedule that you would never have anywhere else, kind of like summer camp, you know, like our schedule was like call times at 2, matches start at 3, we're at the venue from 3 to 10:30, shower, go eat, we leave to go eat at like 11:30, back home at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then try to sleep, but like adrenaline is still going, so you sleep like 5 or 6 hours, and then like you wake up the next day, go get coffee, and then adrenaline starts at like noon again, and it just kept going for like 5 days. So it was like just like this kind of weird jiu-jitsu, but like kind of we were talking about the kumite like a minute ago, it was kind of like my version of the kumite experience. Like that's kind of what I thought of it. I was like, you know, when am I ever going to do something like this, you you know, in jiu-jitsu. Hopefully I'm not always, you know.
True.
But it was like a lot of fun and, you know, super cool show. So I had a good time.
Nice. That's
You
awesome.
had to go way up in weight. You were fighting 205. I've seen Ryan Aiken, who was in the finals against you. He's way bigger than you.
Yeah. Well, Ryan is really good at cutting weight too. So like he
Something I've
makes
learned recently. He's told me
makes
he can do 170 if he has to or has enough
He looks
time.
so big.
Yeah.
yeah,
There's no
Yeah.
way he could do one.
he has a hard time making 85, but he's like, I wouldn't, you know, I'm sure he could make it.
Yeah, he says it, so I'm sure he can, but that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a bigger guy in that bracket for sure. I weighed 190, I think, and I was like, I was eating. My favorite part about PGF was like by the time you get done, the only thing that was open was like really nice restaurants in Vegas. So like we just ate super good all week.
Nice.
So that was like kind of my favorite part. But like I was 190, like just eating whatever I wanted to, having croissants and like steak dinners and, you know, just trying to get bigger. And the weight class I think was 205. And then like right after PGF, I dropped down and did EBI at 170. So like I was a little undersized, but I also feel like because I was undersized, I was not like I kind of could keep going a little bit. Like some of the bigger guys, I think maybe needed more time to recover, and I was okay.
Nice.
I was like honestly worried that because like, I had problems with my back before. I was like worried that I was gonna have I was gonna leave with a bunch of injuries, but I felt fine.
Well, that's one of the wildest things watching, where it was just kind of like athletes seemed to be dropping like flies. Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, just every day there's a new like this guy's ankle doesn't exist anymore. This guy can't make it back, you know, and stuff. So like as a fan watching, it's kind of like this wild process of like, oh my God, dude, these dudes really are just like going out there every day. And like, who knows who's going to make it to the next day. And then at the end of all this, we're going to see them get put into a bracket and then like have to kind of like hit this finale. So it's wild from that perspective of watching it. So it is good to hear you made it away, you know, without any major injuries or anything.
It was funny because so one of my criticisms for PGF was like the payment structure, and like they were kind of the main
It's
payment.
always where things get hairy.
So like, yeah, but so the thing that sucks is like if you don't get put on the right team, you're not going to get that much money.
Yeah.
You know, but like for me, it was like, so I was like, okay, I need a contingency plan. So I booked a seminar in LA the day after. And so I did like 15 matches in a week. And then I had to get up at 5 a.m. the next day to do a seminar. And like a seminar was like at noon. So I had to fly to LA, get driven straight to a seminar. And I just felt like a total zombie at the seminar. But it was like kind of the whole week was just this crazy grind, like going like fly to Vegas, you know, compete all week long, and then like we went out, and then the next day bright and early up in the morning flying to LA, and then the day after that flying back to Austin. So it was like just a super crazy but super fun week. Like I had a great time, you know.
For sure. And so kind of next up on the competition docket for you is WNO 27. You know, of course, we got to talk about WNO. You're going to be kind of like the featured undercard match. It's kind of like a spot we reserve for kind of like like a big name, gets a lot of exposure because it's on the YouTube and everything. But the guy who really is like main card caliber, going to be like breaking on to that WNO scene and everything. And so you're going to be on that against Michael Esquivel. He's a Paragon black belt. Well, I don't know if he originally was Paragon black belt, but he trains at Paragon now. And okay, he's a Paragon black belt. He's has a gym Alpha Omega, but now he trains at Paragon here in Austin. Super tough no-gi guy and everything. But whenever you got the call from Ricardo, I assume, you know, and heard like you might, you know, we were looking for a match with you on Who's Number One and everything. What was your thoughts on that and kind of what did that mean to you and everything?
Yeah, it was really exciting because I've always wanted to be on Who's Number One. Like I've been watching it since you guys first started doing it. You know, I even remember the Who's Number Ones that were in the gi. You know, like remember like Keenan versus Roberto in the gi, and
Victor Marigali,
and there were like some super sick matches in the gi back in the day. But then also too the early no-gi shows and the WNO turn. So I've watched like every single Who's Number One, all the matches. So it was like super cool that I'm gonna have that experience this weekend to be on it, and also too just like you know, just I always love to compete. Like I'm not somebody who is like, I'm not really choosy about who I go against. I'm not like you know. Like I did 15 matches at PGF at 205, you know, which I didn't like. I did well. Like I did super good at ADCC. I could probably just chill for a little bit if I wanted to, but I kind of just wanted to get back in the fire. And you know, they offered me Michael. Is he, I don't know
Michael
what he-
is Mikey.
Yeah, Mikey.
Mikey.
Yeah, so I was like, sure, let's do it, and just really excited for the opportunity.
Was he on your radar at all, or he's kind of another local guy? He's been doing a lot of
Yeah, so he was on the main character in 2023. We were on the same show together, so I'm familiar. And I think I had heard of him from has he done a lot of Fight to Wins? I think.
I think
bunch
like
of
on
fight to
on
wins
that
around.
level of competition, I think he's done them like all. Like,
Yeah,
he's
so
done definitely a lot.
I know most. I'm familiar with most of the guys. I'd heard of him, and then my girlfriend was training over at Paragon for a little bit, and
Yeah.
the class
Trained
time.
with us
yeah,
for a while.
Yeah, so she and then the class times were kind of tough for her job, so she had to switch. But she took my class. She did nothing.
guy.
nothing
She tell you all
bad
the
to
secrets.
say.
Now you gotta go in there and mess him up.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna teach my girl jujitsu? Come on, bro.
Oh man, I didn't know the
Fucking
stakes
settle
were
in
so high for this one.
Settling
I hope
on
he's
the
not
W, no
watching.
math.
I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I think you're overdue to be on Who's Number One. To be honest,
Yeah,
so
straight
it's
up.
glad we're super stoked, to get you on and everything.
Yeah,
It
and of
makes
course
sense.
you're going to be able to watch this one on YouTube for free. Anybody out there, so
Yep.
you guys can tune in for Chris's match.
Yeah, Friday, April 18th. The whole undercard's going to be for free on the FloGrappling YouTube channel, and then the rest of the main cards on FloGrappling.com. You got to subscribe for that one, so go subscribe or buy your tickets now to watch it in person at the Kalahari Resorts. You know anything about the Kalahari in Round Rock?
No, I didn't.
It's got
I
a
didn't
water
even know it
park,
was
bro.
there.
It's got a water park.
All right. Oh wait, I think I'm familiar with there's a few, right? I think there's one in Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
for sure.
That's cool. I didn't know it was there.
Are
That's
you
sick.
going to be taking advantage of the water slide?
So I didn't know that there was. This is going to change my weekend plan.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, maybe
I will-
ask for an extra day in the hotel room or something. I don't know. I guess you're local, so
I'll just drive over.
Yeah, drive over. Use that water slide, but yeah.
What time
super-
are weigh-ins? Maybe I'll go after weigh-ins.
Yeah, I think weigh-ins can start like on Thursday at like 9 a.m. if you
Yeah,
want to go.
yeah. I'll be at the
early.
water park
So you'll
all
be there
day.
all
on
day.
Thursday.
You got to talk to Dima though. Make sure he kind of blocks that into your competition.
Dima's coming on the water park too.
Oh, I believe it. I envision like you and then maybe Owen, Joseph, and then Nicky Rod in the front doing like a Gracie train down the water slide. Any
J-Rod's
chance you could
gotta
make
be
that happen?
I'm sure we could figure something out.
All right, perfect. But yeah, super stoked you're going to be on and everything. Kind of just one thing I want to ask you, if you don't mind, trying to dig out the old memories or anything. You said you watched a lot of the Who's and Ones and everything. Do you have a particular favorite Who's Number One match you remember watching, or a favorite event or anything that stands out to you whenever you think of Who's Number One?
I'm trying to think.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but you can
So,
tell
like,
me now.
I feel like I always like watching my friends. So like, Keith Krikorian's a good friend. So like watching his matches over, like he's done one of his matches with Cisneros, I remember was super sick. That was one of my favorite cards. The recent show that you guys did in California with Keith and Pato, I know it didn't go Keith's way, but super good show, super good card. That one had Jay and Ronaldo Jr. That was a great match. I'm trying to think who else was on that one.
Tynan Renee.
Tynan
on it.
Renee.
versus Lucas Lira.
Yeah,
The first one I went to was it was when Jay went against Tynan. And who else was on that one? That was Cody
Yeah, I think it was Cody
Mika.
That was Victor versus Nicky Rod, I think.
No.
that
This
wasn't
was
Victor versus Javier.
Oh, okay.
Victor and Javier. Yep, and then
Josh Saunders.
Josh Saunders. So that one kind of sticks out as one that I remember because that was the first time I went.
What'd you think of the atmosphere and everything?
It was really fun. It was cool. And it is like pretty big. Like pretty much everybody who's local is there.
Joe Rogan was there. And
Joe Rogan was there. Yeah. I remember that.
Shane, that was awesome.
I remember looking in the crowd because we were sitting up in the the nosebleeds and I was like, wait, is that Joe Rogan? He looks really small from up there.
You're like, his head is glistening. Why can't I
lock
see?
him?
There's a. Yeah, would you
I think
Woj
he
Lock
look-
Joe Rogan?
I could Woj Lock Joe.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah,
You would.
I'll say it. Yeah, you would
I have a
Woj
feeling.
Lock Joe
I have a
Rogan.
I'm sure Joe's a solid grappler, but
You don't know about the
I've heard
Woj
he's
Lock.
pretty good.
the older that a guy gets, the easier the leg is to break. So.
There you go. Damn, I got to remember that. I was like,
Yeah. Now there's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
keep
some
getting
clip
older.
of me
Joe.
threatening Joe Rogan.
Yeah, just for the record, I find Joe Rogan to be tall. I do not find his head to be glistening. I don't think I could tap him out, and I think we would be great friends. So if he happens to be
yeah,
watching,
if he needs a guest spot on but yeah, so glad to have you on and everything. This is obviously a huge card. Nicky Rod Kynan. This is kind of the CJ CJI champion versus ADCC double gold champion, one of the biggest matches to make. But if, I do say so myself, I think the entire card is stacked top to bottom. Like Owen is also on it, going up against Julian Espinoza, Victor, Luke Griffith. Whenever you kind of look at the whole card, is there anything that you're excited for, just, as a fan of grappling, that you're into?
I think that, I don't know. I feel like you guys did a really good job with this card. I'm looking at even the Shanji and Boogie match is I think people maybe are going to sleep on that, but as a fan of the sport who's been watching for a really long time, that's, I think, a cool match. I had the opportunity, I had the opportunity to train with Shanji a few weeks ago for the first time, which was really cool.
He's the coolest, right?
Legend.
Yeah, he's really, really cool, really nice. And then I've trained with Boogie a bunch. I think I've trained with somebody in every single match besides Helena and Elizabeth Clay. So super cool card. And I know most of the people on the card. So
And obviously you've been training a long time now with Nick Rodriguez, but can you give us the kind of breakdown of Kynan versus Nicky Rod? How you see that one go? How's he looking in training?
He's a scary man in training.
I bet.
Not a guy that
you in that.
Yeah, not a guy that you like to train with, but a guy that you have to train with, So I think that I haven't ever trained with Kynan, so I don't really know kind of what his feel is, but Nicky Rod is kind of just a different animal than most people in the sport. And I think that he's also coming off a loss against Victor Hugo at the Fight Pass. I think it was a month ago. Yeah. And he's not a guy who kind of sulks after a loss, that just kind of motivates him even more. So I think that Kynan is going to get the best version of Nicky Rod, and Nicky Rod is going to get the best version of Kynan. So it's going to be just fireworks.
For sure. I think another one that I think is a potential show stealer, is Andrew Tackett versus Fab Yuri. I know Andrew has a lot of hype right now, especially coming off of CJI, his crazy match with Cade and everything. And Fab Yuri is a guy who really does throw caution to the wind and just puts it all on the line and kind of does crazy stuff. Do you have experience? I know you say you train with at least someone in all these matches. Which of those have you trained with?
So I had a match with Tackett. So I've grappled Tackett before. I'm newer to hearing about February. It was just I saw the card and I recognized him. I think he won the Europeans. I think in Nogi.
No,
he was a
IBJJF Euros Nogi. I think he did win.
Oh, and then Nogi, Nogi. And then did he do what? He took second at Worlds or something.
I don't remember for sure what he did at Worlds. I know one thing that was a big February moment is he had a match with Mika at Gi Euros where he kind of some crazy judo and everything.
I've seen he's one of those guys who I've seen around a bunch and I didn't put two and two together until I saw him on the
He had a great match recently on Who's Number One against Daniel Sattler.
Yeah. I remember that one. And then also just Andrew is just I think he's probably the most exciting guy in the sport right now. So I think that he's, any match that he's in, I want to watch. Super good competitor and super talented. Just him and his brother are just ridiculous. So that one I'm really excited about.
And then Owen Jones and Julian. I know you train a lot with Owen Jones and everything. Mm-hmm. How does Owen looking coming into this? And what do you think about Owen?
So it's funny because at Polaris, the squads event in February, I got to train with Julian all week, and then for the last couple months, I've been training with Owen quite a bit. Owen is one of those guys who's just he's kind of like a Joseph Chen kind of mind, super good understanding of things, learns extremely quickly, kind of obsessive over certain things. If you hit him with something, then he's going to hit it on you in a week. That's kind of how it is training with Owen. Julian is kind of very unorthodox, very kind of does a lot of stuff that is kind of maybe off meta, not expected. And so I think that's going to be a really interesting clash of styles.
Off meta, I like.
Yeah, I like that too. You try to get off meta at all?
I think I'm very off meta. I don't think many people are doing reverse false reaps and Woj locks.
True.
Sure. Oh yeah, I just was gonna say I think Julian, he'll just do some crazy flashy stuff once in a while that is unbelievable. I think his takedowns are some of the most exciting to watch.
I watched him at Zapatero recently. Yeah, at the Zapatero he went against Max, and that was a really good match.
That was solid. That was a great fight.
And then there's a couple more B team people on here that I just want to point out. Taylor Hishaw, obviously, as well as Josh Weiland. Josh Weiland, I didn't even actually know Josh Weiland's real name. I just know him as J-Dog, you know?
Yeah.
I had to make the graphic for it, and I was like, do I put J-Dog on this? Like, I feel like that's maybe more recognizable, but
Yeah.
Two younger up-and-coming B team athletes and stuff. What do you think about both of them being on kind of the undercard with you on this one?
Yeah, so Josh is, I think he's a 4-time state champion wrestler, and he wrestled at Virginia Tech. So just like super good wrestler. So I've been training with him a little bit, working on wrestling, because that's kind of, we've been having Dima here running like a skill camp. So we're working on kind of our weaknesses, which for me would be definitely
a lot of the
like
PED leg lock system.
Yeah. And then like, so since he's showing kind of a leg lock system, and I'm more of like already a leg lock guy, I've been doing a lot of wrestling with him and passing. So like kind of, been then testing the wrestling with J-Dog, because he's just like one of the best wrestlers in the room. I had a match with Ben Eddy like 2 years ago, so I think that's going to be a really interesting, because Ben is like kind of dangerous in his like kind of, he's off meta as well. Like the Hindulatine is about as far off meta as you can get. So it's going to be an interesting kind of clash of styles between like kind of a super dynamic guy and then someone who's maybe more unorthodox and more kind of like sneaky dangerous. And then Taylor is like, she's in my night. I teach the night classes. She's in my night class quite a bit. She like super hard worker. She's doing like train 2 or 3 times a day. Really good wrestler. She was competing. She did the finishers, defended the finishers belt recently. Apparently she's like 28-0 in MMA as well.
Wow.
And then, it's just super dangerous. And then Trinity's really good too. She's I think she's at New Wave now.
Yeah, she is.
She's got good leg locks, good triangles. I think she's more of a guard player, so it's probably going to be Taylor trying to pass Trinity. But that's going to be a really interesting match. It's like, and I think they're the same age too. So
both very young. Yeah. Okay.
Did you get to train with Victor Hugo when you were training with Shanji, or?
I did not train with Victor Hugo. No, I was too scared.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I think with Taylor at one point was ranked on both Flow Wrestling and
FloGrappling.
Yeah.
She was the first person to be ranked for both services at the same time.
Yeah, so also has quite a wrestling pedigree as well she's bringing into this.
Yeah, I think she's did she win Super 32 or something?
Or she's at least a very good, I couldn't tell you her credentials.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to make something up that.
Yeah, she's super, super talented in wrestling. And it's cool seeing, I feel like we're seeing a little bit more on the women's side, actually, some of these high-level wrestlers coming over and trying their hand at jiu-jitsu. I don't know if that's necessarily Taylor, because it sounds like she was kind of both at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just awesome to see. And she already had her WNO debut, beat Lauren Sears, looked incredible in that fight. Didn't get the finish that she was looking for. I think she wants things to improve on. And man, Trinity's a tough fight. This is a rematch actually from maybe like ADCC trials actually.
Oh, really?
Trinity got the win.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that this is every fight on this card I really enjoy for different reasons. I think these are two super, super talented up-and-comers.
Yeah, and then the one that we haven't mentioned is Sebastian and Colin. And Colin's been coming over to train with us. I think he's repping 10th Planet.
Yeah, 10th
but
Planet.
He's been training with us like a couple times a week, and he's like really good wrestler as well, and good passing. And Sebastian, I trained with Sebastian at PGF because we were on the same team, and he's like, that dude is strong. And I mean, he's like got obviously good jiu-jitsu. I know it's like an insult to just lead with somebody's
I think
strength.
Sebastian would like being called.
Yeah. But his choi bar is really good, or arm saddle, whatever you want to call it. His false sweep is really good. His leg locks. So it's a good match as well.
Definitely, yeah. So
I had somebody getting a big online. They got so mad at me online because I said a choi bar and an arm saddle were the same position and the same thing. They're like, no, look at the angle of the knee. The angle of the knee will tell you everything you need to know about whether or not it's a choi bar or an arm saddle. And it was like, listen,
what do you think about that?
I've always called it a choi bar, but some people call it an arm saddle, and that's all right.
Yeah.
So it's not the angle of the knee.
Like
I'm going to go back to this guy.
Yeah. Some people call it a reverse Aoki. Not me, dude. I call it the Woj Lock, the proper name. It's Woj Lock all the way. So
I agree.
Count on us. We're calling it Woj Lock from now on.
Forever.
That's what I need.
And if I hit it in the gym, I'm calling it out too. I'm going, Woj Lock, Woj Lock. I'm letting everybody know. Yeah.
I get an alarm.
We're gonna sit off the Woj alarm. It's like Planet Fitness with the Lunk alarm, except I got a Woj alarm. So.
I did a seminar.
Your team should do that, where they put in different alarms that you get to hit after you hit a trendy move on somebody. Just like, hit the A block, gotta hit the A block alarm.
I did a seminar recently at a gym, and they had a bell that you could ring if you get a pressure tap. And I was trying to convince them to change it to a Woj Lock bell instead of a
At least for
pressure
the seminar,
Bells.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get multiple bells.
You get any pressure taps out there?
Not many. I don't have the body structure to like, and I'm not very big,
Yeah.
like 185. So I'm not, unfortunately.
enough.
I can pressure tap like maybe the 145 guys,
Kids
but
class.
Nice.
yeah. It's disrespectful. Disrespectful if I
Flex
pressure
over there
tap somebody.
whooping it up. Yeah.
So don't say that I can pressure tap Owen, because then he's gonna try to pressure tap me, and I don't want that. I don't want that in my life.
I don't know. I feel like I just heard you say you could pressure tap Owen. So
Yeah, but we're obviously super stoked about this card as a whole. Glad you're on it. I think it's going to be a great show for everybody. Obviously April 18th, Friday, April 18th, WNO 27 is going down at Round Rock, Texas. So I think there's still some tickets available. So go buy those, be there in person. If not, subscribe to FloGrappling if you want to watch it. But I feel like that's pretty much everything we had for you, Chris. If you want to shout out where people can, where they can keep up with you, where they can get your instructionals and follow you, where they can sign up for that newsletter. Are you still doing the newsletter and everything?
Still doing the newsletter. So every Friday I drop a newsletter. It's called The Grappler's Diary. It's on Substack. If you just Google The Grappler's Diary, it's the first thing that comes up. And then I have an Instagram page called The Grappler's Diary, where I share like little bites of information, pretty much not every day, but like a few times a week. And then the book is on Amazon, A Grappler's Diary. Or if you ever come to one of my seminars, I always sell books at seminars.
There you go.
And then I have 2 instructionals on BJJ Fanatics. I have Don't Stand Up and Woj Lock the World. Don't Stand Up is like all open guard stuff. And then Woj Lock the World is obviously the Woj Lock and a bunch of ankle locks. And then I'll have a new one coming soon. Probably going to be called Don't Get Past. And it's about how to not get past, like a guard retention one. And then only sponsor that I got a shout out for WNO is Grapple Science. It's a evidence-based nootropic that I've been using before training for the last few weeks. And it has me feeling super sharp, and I'm definitely going to take it before my match on Friday. So big shout out to Grapple Science.
Nice. All right, there you go. Everybody go support Chris, of course. Here we go. Shout out the book again. Go buy a Grappler's Diary. It's available on Amazon, right? It's so super easy to purchase, little one-click purchase. Don't worry about the cost or anything, dude. Just buy it. Use your mom's credit card. Just kidding, but not really, kind of. I don't know. Do whatever you got to do. Support Chris. We're always trying to support grapplers doing cool stuff, and obviously this is awesome. And while you're doing that, go get you some Choju Wellness Restore. Stay on the mats longer, train more, get better at jiu-jitsu. Go watch Chris's instructionals, take some Choju, and then submit everybody with the Woj Lock. That's the main takeaway you should have from this. But yeah, we'll see you guys at the Kalahari in Round Rock. Come say what's up. Say what's up to Chris if you see him. You cool with that? The people coming saying what's up. Bring a Grappler's Diary. Somebody bring one to get Chris to sign or something. That would be awesome if we pulled that off. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching the Flow Grappling Show. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next episode.